Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, which is Website Basics. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This webinar is brought to you through the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Program, and we are very proud to have the opportunity to bring this to you today. Now, you may notice that you are muted for the comfort of the recording and videos turned off, so you guys can sit back and relax and do a lot of learning today. Now, I do want this webinar to be interactive, so if you do have any questions, I'm going to encourage you to pop them into the chat for me and I'll get those answered for you. But everybody who is registered today will receive a copy of the recording, so you will be able to go through it. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kerrie Saverin and I'm the co-founder of Attitude Business Solutions. I'm very proud to be an advisor with the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Program. It gives us the opportunity to be able to meet so many business owners and to be able to help them at a level that they can actually afford. So we are a big thumbs up for this program. So today we're going to cover a few topics. We're going to be talking about why you need a website, what options are available for you. We're going to talk about basic website terminology and basic website elements as well. So for those of you who've just joined us, you will get a copy of the recording and you will notice that you are muted with your videos turned off for the comfort of that recording. So why do you need a website? This is probably one of the most asked questions that I get. Did you know that 81% of research of people who are looking to do business with a business will do research online before making a decision? I just got distracted by my spelling error in this, so that's why I lost my thought track for a second. No matter how often I check these slides, I find something every time I present. And I think if you think about what you do from a perspective of using Google or doing business with other businesses, this is exactly true. You wouldn't simply, if you saw someone advertised on social media, you wouldn't simply hand over your money. You do a bit of research on them first. And the research has showed that 81% of people do. Now, 56% of those people won't trust a business that doesn't have a website. So we all know how easy it is to manipulate platforms like social media these days. I think we've cottoned on to the fact that there can be a lot of cons and a lot of things going on there. When somebody backs it up with a website with further information on it, it gives us trust that they're a reputable business. So when you're talking about having a website, you need to think of that factor. When we're talking to our clients about building up their business, we like them to think of a star. So we want 5 points of digital contact. So we might have a website that's been set up. You might have a Google My Business. You might have a Facebook page. You might have an Instagram account. You might have advertised online through Google AdWords. So we're looking for 5 points of reference to be able to cement you as an expert or your business as an expert in the digital world. Now, your website can be available 24/7, 365 days a year, even when you're not. And I think what's really key about this particular stat is the fact that how often have you been sitting in front of the TV and something comes up and you go, oh, I'm gonna look up that business, or I'm just gonna look something up. And then you get frustrated because the website's not mobile friendly, you can't get the information that you want. You normally just go, oh, scrap that. I can't even do business with them because they don't even have the information right. I don't know what they're about. So this is where an effective website can actually be promoting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. You just have to make sure it has the elements that are right. And we're going to be covering that today. So here's some of the things that a website does for you. So it builds credibility. It gives you and your business some credibility in the marketplace. It cements you as an expert in your field. So whether that is through the showing of testimonials or your expertise. It showcases your business, so it allows others to be able to see possibly some social proofing where customers have been able to give some feedback on their experience with you. They can make a purchase or book directly with you from your website. Oh, you know, this is a big one for millennials. You know, I saw something the other day and it was really funny, and it was just like, oh, I'll call you later. And the millennial said, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just text message me? You know, they don't necessarily need to have a face-to-face conversation. And the baby boomers and the Gen Xers are a little bit different. They're kind of like, hang on a second, I need to have a conversation with a real person before I do business with them. But from the millennials onward, that is not necessarily the case. So it gives your customers and clients an opportunity to check you out. So check out your services, check out what you do, etc. And a 24/7 shop front. So if you're someone that particularly that sells products online, it can open up that shop front to around the world also. So when it comes to websites, what I normally find is with this particular webinar, people are coming to me for a couple of reasons. They're coming to this webinar because they already have a website and maybe it's not performing. So they just want to get clarification on the basics of a website and make sure they have everything that they need to have. Or secondly, maybe they're looking at getting a website or they're looking at building a website themselves. So they want to know a little bit about the basics of a website so that they can move forward and do that. Now, there is some options for you. And what I normally find, particularly with small business owners, is they either have one of two things. They either have time or money. Okay, so they're either starting out a business, they've got a certain amount of budget that they can spend. And so they have the money to be able to pay somebody to go and do the job for them. So obviously, if you're not an expert in website building, this is one that I highly recommend. Bianca, thank you so much for joining us. You'll notice that you are muted with your video turned off. But if you have any questions, pop them into the chat for me. So I like to go through some options. So if you're looking to either build a website or have someone build it for you and you're just like, oh, I need to get some advice, I'm going to give you some options for you. So you need to consider, where is your time best spent? And, you know, if you're one of those businesses that are starting out with a very limited budget and you don't have money, but you have time, then you're going to have time to build your own website. So the options for you are to build and manage your own website. There is the option where you can have someone build your website for you, but you manage it. So that can be a really good option and a cost-effective way of doing it. Or there's the third option where you have someone build it and they manage it for you. It's normally more expensive to do this, obviously the third one, but as I said, you either have time or money. So if you don't have the money, but you have the time, learn to build and manage your own website. If you have a limited budget, then maybe you have someone build it for you, but then you get to manage it down the track. So there's not that ongoing management cost for you. Or if you're like, you know what, I just have the money, just get someone to build it and manage it for you on your behalf. So I'm going to go through these options with you. So build and manage your own website. So there's lots of platforms that you can use. So you can use things like Wix, Weebly, GoDaddy. They're obviously really good user-friendly ones. Weebly is another fantastic, really good user-friendly one. If I hear one more person tell me that they can't have a professional website without it being a WordPress website, I'm literally going to strangle them, because that is simply not the case. And I see this all the time, where business owners said to me, oh, I decided to build a WordPress website because they told me that that was the best. Everyone says that that's the best. It certainly is the best if you're a website builder that knows everything about code. Because if you don't know everything about code, then WordPress can be extremely difficult. It can be very user friendly. So you need to consider, if you're building this yourself and you don't have any website building experience or coding experience, then you may be better off going with a Weebly, Wix, or GoDaddy. That may be a better option for you. And then you'll have the experts that say, yes, but with those sites you get terrible SEO. And again, that has nothing to do with what platform you build it on and everything to do with what you put on your website. You can adjust everything in the back end of those websites just like you can on a WordPress website. So the reason why a lot of web developers like to use a WordPress website is because it becomes next to impossible for the person to manage it by themselves without a WordPress degree. So yes, you can use those easy builders and still have a very effective website. Our website at Altitude Business Solutions, it's completely built on the Weebly platform. You know, we have about 120 to 130 people a day going to that website. So the SEO factor actually has nothing to do with it in the back end. So that's option number one. Option number two is to have somebody build it for you, but you manage it. So this is where you go, okay, you build it all, do all the hard work of putting the pages together and getting my graphics right, getting my coloring right, making sure the SEO is right. You do all of that and then just hand it to me and show me how I can update it, and I'll take care of it myself. This can come in really handy for people that have e-commerce sites where their products possibly change over on a regular basis. You know, setting up an e-commerce site can be very time consuming, and it's often best left to the experts. But if you are constantly changing your designs, and an industry that is coming to mind straight away for me is the clay earring industry. So you may know that this is quite big if you're a female and you're listening to this or watching this. Clay earrings at the moment are really big. So everybody's making earrings. But the thing is because they're normally all handmade, they normally will make a whole heap of earrings, and then they will do a stock run and they'll say there's X amount of that product left. And once that product's sold, then they have to make some more. So they normally have stock runs, and every time they make the product, it's slightly different. So you might be adding a slightly different element to each of your products when you list them. So it may be that you are better off having someone else build it and you managing it, because you have that constant turnover of products. So you need to be able to load new products in and take the old products down. And you don't want the expense of having to go to your web designer and go, okay, well, we're having another launch. And they say, yep, no problems. It's another $300 for us to update all of your latest products. So you don't want that ongoing cost. You just want it set up, and then you want to be able to manage it yourself. So that's a really good example there. Or if you're someone that maybe your website is a real information only website, maybe once every 6 months things change and you only get on there once every 6 months and change it over. Or maybe there is no changes. Maybe it's simply a very basic website and you won't need to make any changes. So you have someone build it and you manage it. It means that there's no ongoing costs down the track. A lot of web designers, what they say is, you know, it's X amount of dollars, and that includes so many hours of maintenance for you each year. So you can, if you can avoid those costs and save them, then certainly we're a big one for that. Now, this is where you've got hardly any time, but lots of money, and you just want someone to build it and manage your website for you. So you're happy to pay the extra money that it's going to cost you each year to be able to send an email off to your designer and say, these are the changes that I need made. Basically, can you make them now? Most web designers will require a 7-day notice. So if you need a change made on your website, they'll need 7 days. Obviously need to consider the fact that they may be working with another client right now. So they need 7 days to pass that on to their team to update and get all the information right. So if you don't have a lot of time, if you're very time poor, then this could definitely be the option for you. And then you don't have to worry about it again. Now, when it comes to websites, there is some basic terminology, and I really like to go through this because if you are going down that track of having a web designer build your platform for you, then you need to know what they're talking about. Otherwise, it's just going to be like speaking another language. You need to know the basic terminology. And if you're going to be building your website yourself, I think it's important for you to know this basic terminology also. So let's talk about search engine optimization, or SEO. Now, this has nothing to do with the platform that it's actually built on, and everything to do with what's being put on your page from a word perspective, and also what's happening in the back end of your page, like the page title and the wording that you have in there. So search engine optimization is about optimizing your website so that it can be found in Google searches. So when somebody types in a particular phrase, up pops your website. And the key is obviously we want to try and get on page 1 of those search results. That's ideally what we'd like to have. So that's what search engine optimization is about. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is Favicon. I will go through these. Oh, I just forgot to flick my slide there. Sorry guys, a bit behind with my slide flicking, got a bit carried away. So we've been through search engine optimization. Now, obviously we want to get onto page 1. The next one that I'm going to talk to you about is Favicon. This is one that is quite often missed, and it's often missed not only by people who are building their own websites, but from web developers as well. So a favicon is the image that appears next to your domain name in the browser address bar. So it's a good idea to ensure, I like how I've made another spelling mistake there as well, that it's your logo or something that relates to your business. So I've given you an example on the screen here. So we've got 3 websites actually open, 3 tabs. This is using the Chrome, the Chrome platform. So we've got the Eventbrite, and you see that's their website basics there. Then we've got the Beenleigh Outlet Chamber of Commerce homepage, and then we've got the Altitude Business Solutions homepage. Now you'll notice next to each of those, there is this little favicon, and that's the little picture that you see. Now, what's really important about this is that when people are like me, and let me tell you, it's extremely rare for me to only have 3 browser windows open. I'm working on my computer all day, and if I don't have 10 to 15 windows open, then that's normal. Now, what happens is obviously these bars that you're seeing at the moment are quite big. So they're showing not only the picture, but they're also showing the words. But as I open more and more windows, they become smaller and smaller to the extent where you can only see the favicon. So having your favicon or your logo uploaded as a favicon to your website means that it's easily recognizable from a tab perspective. And it's also, it's brand consistency as well. It's making sure that that brand is really standing out and that, we know what that brand's about. So this is a really important step. If you're using a WordPress site and you don't upload your own favicon, WordPress will take every opportunity to advertise their platform, and there'll be a little WordPress W in there. Some other platforms don't advertise themselves, though some do. And if they don't advertise their own platform, they'll just put the little world in there. So you won't stand out, it won't easily be recognizable. So for me, a favicon is really an important factor for a website. Now, a responsive layout. Now, responsive layouts are adaptable and change depending on the user device. So the picture on the screen is a really good example, but I want you to think about the flow from a desktop to a mobile. They need to be optimized. We know that 88% of people are looking at your website either on a mobile phone or tablet device these days. So, you're talking about less than 20% that are actually on desktop nowadays. So it's really important that your website translates across all of those different platforms. Now, when you go with a platform like Wix and GoDaddy, they give you the option to be able to have your website design on desktop. And then you need to flick it over to mobile responsive and then look at the mobile responsive design layout and make sure that it all fits. And this is where it can be a little bit frustrating with those particular platforms because you have to build your website twice essentially. You have to make sure that the desktop version looks great, but then you also have to optimize the mobile version to make sure that it makes sense. Sometimes a picture that looks absolutely fantastic on a desktop, when you open it up onto a mobile site, it is just massive. It takes up the whole screen and it defeats the purpose even being there. The platform Weebly, which is the one that we use, we love because we don't have to double up. It transfers very easily from a desktop platform to a mobile platform. We don't have the time to be making sure that both platforms are right. We just want it to transfer across easily. So do your research there. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing, it is mobile responsive because the majority of people are looking at your site on mobile. Now, back end. So what does it refer to when somebody starts talking about the back end of a website? So there's lots of internal processes that a user can't normally see. So if I was to you would go to my website, you can't see all the internal processes that are there. But the back end of your website is where you'll update, things like software, or you'll publish your blogs, or you'll upload a new product. It's where you can see some of your SEO settings. Some, common SEO settings would be the page title and the page preview or description. So you only see all of that in the back end of the website. You guys couldn't go to my website and see all that information now. It's all done in the back end. So when we're talking about the back end of a website, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about going into the adjustable elements and optimizing them for the best website experience for the user. You can always focus in on having the best website experience for your user and the best information for your ideal customer, and everything will just flow so much more easily. Now there is hosting. So web hosts, it gives us the power to post web pages to the internet. Okay, so it's a service that you need. So when you go with a platform like GoDaddy or Wix or Weebly, they have their hosting fee built into their fees that they charge. It's normally a 12-month fee, though you can get 2-year packages with some of them. So they use, obviously they use server computers to connect to the website. So this is different to building a website. So I want to be a little bit clear here. If you're using someone to build your website, it's not going to be, yes, that website's going to cost you $5,000 and that's it. There is going to be a yearly hosting fee. You know, it's a hosting fee that the that's charged to be able to get your website onto the internet, essentially. So most web designers will charge a fee to build and then a yearly hosting fee. Now, sometimes that fee to build for the first includes a year's worth of hosting. So you don't have to worry about hosting for that first year. It's all included in the build price. Excuse me, I was messing my words up then. So, but most web developers will say this is the cost for building it, and here is your ongoing hosting costs for the platform. And it's an unavoidable cost under most times. So what is a domain? This is now something that you may have heard of as well. So domain names are used to identify one or more IP addresses. So for example, our domain name is altitudebusinesssolutions.com.au. So these addresses, just like hosting, there's normally a yearly or 2-yearly cost where you can buy them, and it's normally included. Now, a lot of people say to me, what's the advantages? Should I be buying the domain name and giving it to my web developer, or should they be, doing it? The majority of web developers will include a domain name as part of their costing anyway. What you just need to be careful of is just the fact that you actually own that domain name, not them. You don't want them to be purchasing it. And then, you come to the end and say, oh, look, I'm just actually wanting to manage my own website now. And they go, that's great. We still own the domain name. So it needs to be very clear in the contract that the domain name is yours. So when we build websites for our clients, they have full access to their domain name and all of their codes. So that's an important factor to know also. There's no real advantage or disadvantage, only that if you do choose to buy the domain name, the web developer will give you instructions to be able to send off to that, wherever you're hosting that domain. And there's not normally any cost saving. It is what it is for the developer or you. Though some websites do say if you're buying a certain amount of domain names per month that you get a discount. So, but yeah, it really just depends on the type of website developer or builder that you're using. So key elements to consider for your website. This is another question that people will often ask us. What do I need to have on my website? You need to have an easy to navigate homepage. It's not about the words, it's about making it easy for the client to find what they need. Now, what I want you to think about is how websites have evolved over the last 20 years. So 20 years ago, it was about having as many pages as you possibly could, because we were all opening those websites on a desktop. And we loved being able to go to the home page and the about page and the product page and, everything else. Nowadays, we're normally looking at a website either on a tablet or a mobile phone device, which sits in the palm of our hands. And it's not always as easy to click through page after page after page. So quite often, a lot of that information that used to be on a separate page is much better off on the home page. So things like your business now should actually be on your home page now. Your frequently asked questions was always recommended that you had a separate page for frequently asked questions. Our advice now to our clients is we put those frequently asked questions on our page, on your homepage, so people see that. Your testimonials, getting your testimonials on the homepage so that people can see that. They don't have to click into another page. So an easy to navigate homepage, not only from a desktop, but from a mobile perspective, as we've touched on also. So think about how you use your mobile phone when you're on a website. You like to be able to click on images. You like things to be very clear and concise and big wording because you're on a little phone. Brand consistent copy. Now this is all about the words. The previous example was not about the words. This one is all about the words. It's about what you say and how you say it. It all forms part of your brand, and your brand consistency is the key. What's really interesting about this is I'm going to give our website as a really good example, because I find it very easy to write copy or to write words. It's very professional. It's really, really, really professional kind of written wording. But in person, when you actually meet me, I'm quite a casual person. I'm not immaculately presented. I'm neat and tidy, but I just kind of fit in with the crowd. And it's kind of, it was a real contrast between what people were seeing on the website, what they're seeing off the website. And I mentioned this because we met a client recently who has this amazing website. It's absolutely immaculate. She's had professional photos taken. She was a bookkeeper. Professional photos taken. She looks absolutely amazing. The website is absolutely just spot. And then we had the opportunity to meet with her in person, because she was telling us the website wasn't working. Well, that the website was working. There was actually lots of inquiry coming into the website, but when she was meeting the people in person, it wasn't translating to business, and she didn't understand why. Now, the pictures that she had on the website were probably taken about 5 years previous, and they were beautiful images. They weren't glamour shots, but they were just really well taken images. And so when we had the opportunity to meet with her and she turned up, she looked totally different to the images that were on her website. And straight away, I knew what the problem was, because you need to make sure that your online and your offline is in line, if that makes sense. So for me, I don't always turn up immaculately presented. The photo of me on my website is very kind of, I think it's just a selfie that I've taken in the backyard, and I've got my glasses on. Like, it's not a professionally taken shot. But when I turn up, people normally go, yes, that's what she looks like. There's no, concern's not the right word, but there's no doubt. I don't put doubt in their mind straight away by them going, oh, gee, that doesn't look anything like her. Gee, I wonder what else she's not telling me. Like, she looked perfect online. So it's really important to make sure that that translates across. So it's really important that your web developer understands who you are and what you are wanting for your brand as well. So brand consistent copy, but also images is really important also. Having a search bar on your website. Now, we just recently removed our search bar, but we're a really big one for putting a search bar on your website, because particularly if you're on a mobile phone device, you want to find something on that website easily. The search bar gives you the ability to do that. The reason why we took off our search bar was because we decided that we had so many blogs on there for the last 2.5 years that it actually became a little bit overwhelming. And somebody searched for something on our website, there was 6 or 7 articles that came up. So we've taken that feature away so we don't confuse our clients, keeping it nice and easy. But allows the users to be able to search your entire site for what you're looking for. So this works really well maybe if you're a business. I'm trying to think of an example of a client that we've dealt with who was in the world of dance. And so she had dance classes advertised. There was all different sorts of things that she did. So the user could go to the website and type in dance classes, and it would show them the direct page where the dance classes were listed. So having a search bar on there is really key. Frequently asked questions. Now, this will answer a lot of questions that your clients might have, but will also help with your search engine optimization. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about the problem that your business solves for your client or your potential client, and then think of all of the questions that everybody always asks you. Can I get it in a different color? What size is the bottle? What if I don't know how to do this? Think of all of the questions that your clients would ask you about your products and services and put all of those in the frequently asked questions. So we change our frequently asked questions. Every now and again, somebody asks us a question and oh, that's a good one. I'm going to put that in the frequently asked questions. And the reason why this helps with your search engine optimization is because those frequently asked questions are normally the questions that they are putting into the Google search, is where they'll normally put those questions. Now, if you're struggling because you don't really know the questions that your clients ask about your product or service, there's a really great website. I'm actually just going to put it into the chat. It's called answerthepublic.com. You get 3 free searches a day on this website, but this is where you could type in, for example, in the case of our business, I could type in social media, and it's going to give me all of the questions that people are asking Google around the topic of social media. So if you're struggling with what to put as your frequently asked questions, then that could be an option for you as well. You could simply put in a 1-word or a 2-word about what your business is about or what your product is about. And from there, you can put that in your frequently asked questions barrel. Contact information in your footer. Now, I'm a big one for giving you as much information as you possibly can up front. And I don't think we've done it on our website, but it's certainly something that I'll probably change and add in. And that is to add in our mobile phone number at the top and make that mobile phone number clickable from a mobile perspective so that when someone sees it, they can click on it and they can call us straight away, because that's becoming a lot more popular. But if you think about the way that we've used websites, particularly in the last 20 years, we've become familiar with the fact that we can scroll to the very bottom and see the footer of that website. Now, the footer is a section of the page at the bottom that is the same on every single page of that website. No matter what website you're on, what web page you are on, sorry, that information will appear at the bottom. So this is typically where we entered in all of our info. Here is our address, here is our phone number. Here are some links to our social media platforms. Here is our terms and conditions and privacy policy. And we are associated with these companies. So keeping that consistency and putting that information into what's called the footer of your website is really key, because that's, essentially that's what we've become accustomed to. We know if we can't find the information at the top, pretty much we scroll to the bottom and there it is. If it's not at the bottom, then we might go, oh, let's try and find a contact us section or a contact us page. And it's certainly okay for you to have one of those, but I'm a big one for putting all the info in the bottom and making sure that from a mobile perspective, that information is actually clickable. When I say clickable, I mean they click on the phone number and it says it's going to start calling. Do you want to call now? Yes, I do. And the phone starts calling it. Or from an email perspective, they click on that email address and it automatically opens up an email. That's really important. Connecting your social media profiles to your website, not only does it help with your SEO, but it helps with your credibility also. If somebody's done a Google search for your services and you've come up as a website, they'll go to that, then they'll go to your information and they'll see the other platforms that you're on. People are really they want to do business with you, but they also want to make sure that you're a credible business, that you know what you're talking about, you're an expert in your field. So they're wanting to have all of the information on that website they possibly can. Now, it's at this point of the presentation where I normally get asked a whole heap of questions. So I'm going to open it up to questions of you guys. You can put them in the chat for me. Normally you come along to these sessions today because you have a particular question that you want answered, and I don't always go through and answer it all. I will talk to you about a few other factors, but if you do have any questions, please put them into the chat now and I will get them answered for you. That's the beauty of being here live, that you have the option to do that. So another thing that I'll talk to you about very briefly is the images that you put up on your website. Yes, it's important that you have images, absolutely. But I want to talk to you about the size of those images. So when you have your images and you can upload them, there's two formats that those images can be in. They can be in a JPEG format, or they can be in a PNG format. A PNG format is a lot more, it takes up a lot more space. They're a lot more, normally a better quality photo than a JPEG. I'm going to encourage you that when you do upload photos, that you do just upload them as a JPEG file. And the reason why I say this is because one of the important factors of a website that I haven't mentioned here today is load speed. There's nothing more frustrating. We've all been to those websites where we go along to a website and we open it up and it just goes load, 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 and it takes forever. And sometimes we go, oh God, I'll just go to another website, and we click back and we go to the next website. So load speed is really important. The more images you put onto your website, the longer it will take to load, particularly if those images are a PNG quality, because that website is trying to load every single pixel of that picture for you. But because we know 88% of people are on their mobile phones, it doesn't matter. Whether you have a PNG or a JPEG, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to be pixelated. It might be pixelated if you blew it up onto a screen that was, 2 meters by 4 meters, but certainly not on your everyday screen, on your desktop or your computer that we're seeing. You're not going to notice the difference. The images that you're seeing today as part of this presentation are all JPEG images. Well, this one that you're seeing now is in black and white. It's certainly not pixelated or blurry in any way. So load speed is important. It's important for the people who are visiting your site. It's important for getting from an SEO perspective. So when it comes to improving your search engine optimization or your ranking on Google so that you can be on page 1, Google takes into consideration your page load speed. If it loads too slow, it's not going to send people there. Google has a reputation for sending people to the right page when they need it. So if they suggest your page and people keep leaving simply because it's not, that it's not loading properly or it's not loading quickly enough, then they won't recommend your page anymore. So that's really important. So that's when it comes to pictures. When it comes to wording, I know I touched on it very briefly, but you don't need a lot of wording these days. People want you to be straight to the point. Just get straight to the point about what it is that you do. Tell me your story. Tell me why you do it. Tell me how you do it. And give me the options to be able to purchase or book or a call to action or the next step. What's the next step from here? What specials do you have that you can show me? What have you got coming up that you can show me? So make sure that all of that information is on your home screen so that you can share it with everybody and that they'll see it, particularly from a mobile phone perspective. You want it to be nice and easy. So another factor that I can talk to you about is a lot of people always ask me, how many pages is the best size website? I have clients who have a single page website who work that single page website very successfully and do a great job at it. You might know that as a sales page. That is where you just literally have one page. It tells them about your business and it sells them the products and services that you have, and that's pretty much it. So depending on what type of business you are, so if you are a product-based business where you sell product and you have an e-commerce site, you will have other pages because that's how an e-commerce site works. But you can make sure that everybody can access the things that they need to from the home page. So if you have products, and I'm just going to give example maybe for a skincare company. So if you're a skincare company and you have cleansers, moisturizers, and cleansers, toners, and moisturizers, I'm going to say, well, then maybe you'll have a page set up that has all of your cleansers on it. One of them that has all your toners on it, one of them that has all your moisturizers on it, and then another one that has all your packages on it. So we package them together and sell them as a cleanser, toner, moisturizer in that range. So people can choose whether they're going to buy them singly or whether they're going to go and buy the pack, or maybe they've bought the pack, but they've just run out of the cleanser, so they just need to buy the cleanser. So giving them those options as well will determine how many pages you have. Now, those pages that have all of the moisturizers on it, that's what we call a category page. So all of those products will be flagged as a moisturizer, and you can say, create me a page with all those moisturizers on it, and it will just simply create a page with all of those moisturizers on it. So you've got to have your categories right in the back end when it comes to a product selling website. When it comes to maybe there's consultancy businesses or where they actually book services of you, you can have some really cool integrations. So I can think of a platform that's quite widely used, like Calendly, if you're someone that uses Calendly, where people can actually book into your diary for appointments. You can actually embed Calendly onto your website. So you're not saying click here and then sending them to Calendly. You actually have Calendly on your website. So you can say, choose your appointment time below. And they get to choose their appointment time directly on your website. So they don't have to leave your website and go somewhere else. So you can integrate that on there as well. The majority of website building platforms have a whole heap of add-ons and apps that you can also use. So things like a countdown timer would be a good example. In fact, if I just share my screen, I can take you, oh no, I won't waste time doing that. But you can have a countdown timer. We've actually got a count up timer on our website. So if you visit our website, altitudebusinesssolutions.com.au, you'll notice as you scroll down, there's a count up timer. It talks about the number of businesses that we've actually consulted with or helped during our time in business. And we're in the 900s now, which is really encouraging for us because we always had an aim to help 400 businesses a year. And we've helped slightly more than that, which is great. So, and we change that countdown timer once a month to be where we're at with our current clientele. So that's really cool. So you can have things like that on there. Places like Eventbrite, we use Eventbrite for a lot of our events that we run, whether it be in-person workshops or online events. And you can embed Eventbrite onto your website also, so people can actually purchase tickets directly from your website, which is really cool. So there's plenty of options and plenty of integrations that you can actually have with your website building platforms and other platforms as well. If you're looking for something that's really holistic, as in has all of those features, Weebly is very basic. The website builder that we use is very basic, so it doesn't have a lot of apps that are available to be able to do things. And that sits perfectly well with us. I mean, for us, building on that platform just keeps things simple and stops us complicating it. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy when it comes to building things for our business, and we constantly second guess whether it's the right thing to do or not. So I am going to continue to go through my presentation, and I know there's only a couple of you here today, and I know that with these short weeks it is hard. We did have a number of people registered, but not all of them can turn up live. So those of you that are here live do have the opportunity to ask those questions. But I will continue with the presentation, and we will be finishing a few minutes early if we don't have any further questions, but have a think about that. So obviously you've come to this webinar today through the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Program. So that allows you to be able to book in one-on-one sessions with an expert from around Australia, and they start from $44. You could attend one of the amazing 2-hour workshops, which are in a very similar process to what you're seeing today, except a little bit more interactive, a bit more open. Videos and microphones all turned on, and we're all sort of interacting together for $25. Or we have these free 1-hour workshops. So you can get so much value out of these workshops, and I really am encouraging everybody to book in as many of these as you possibly can in the subjects that you are interested in, or things that you would like to know about your business. The next webinar that I've got coming up that might interest you is a step on from this one that you're at today. So this is the 10 powerful ways to drive traffic to your website. So, if you've built your website and now you're just having trouble getting people there, it may be that from today's presentation, you know that you need to make a few changes. So you make those changes and you twig it up a little bit. But then you need to know what are some great strategies for getting people to my website? How do I get people to actually engage on my website and go to my website? And we can go through some powerful ways to be able to get people to your website also. So that's pretty much the end of my presentation today. As I said, I normally do have a little bit more interaction and some questions, so it takes up a little bit more time. But if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm happy to finish early today. There's not too much more that I can tell you from a website basics perspective about websites, only that don't procrastinate. Building it is really not as hard as what you think it is. So if you don't have the money, but you have the time, please move forward with getting something because having something is certainly better than having nothing. And, if you don't have the time, then you really need to consider getting someone to build that website for you. So investing into your business as you move forward. So guys, I really do encourage you to have you contact with me over any social media platforms, or if you have any questions, please head to our website and send me a message or send me an email. I'm happy to answer those questions. Oh, thanks, Bianca. I'm super keen for the next one. Yeah, excellent. So you might find that one, that talks about how to get people to your website. You just want to make sure this is a good one to come to first to actually see what needs to be there when I get them there. You don't want to be turning them away. You want to make sure that you have that favicon in place, that the pictures are nice and clear, they're not too big, it's not taking too long to load. You have all the information on that home screen that you need for them in order to make a decision to purchase from you. But I'd like to thank RDA Brisbane, Treaty Business Consulting and Business Station for bringing us this webinar today through the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Program. And guys, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to sign off now and say thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day and move forward and grow your business.